Today, guys, we're going to take a look at 9 herbs that make excellent companions for your vegetable gardens. They attract pollinators, they deter pests and diseases, and some of them actually enhance the flavors. If you have never been here before, my name is Marlene. Welcome everyone to my home and garden channel. Now let's take a look at these herbs. These 9 herbs, they have so many uses around the home, but today we're going to take a look at their benefits inside the garden. By the way, guys, I will have a bonus tip for you at the end, so be sure to stick around for that. So let's start off with number 1, and that would be basil, one of my absolute favorites. And over here you can see they have some purple ones. You can see how much they were going for in the 4-inch containers. Of course, it's always more inexpensive if you are able to start them from seeds. And this is what I did. I started some indoors by my kitchen window. You can see that they're coming up here. And of course, once they get a little bit, taller, then I'm going to go ahead and thin them out and transplant them out in my flower beds and my containers. These are some herbs that my sister grew right here in some stackable containers. Now, guys, if you want your tomatoes to really love you, plant them with some basil. Basil does absolute wonders for tomatoes. It enhances their flavor so they taste a lot better, like these that I harvested here. And of course, it does things like it deters flies and hornworms. You know that tomato hornworm can be such a pest to them. So, that's a good deterrent right there. Bear in mind that it also tends to attract bees and butterflies if you allow it to get to flower. And typically in your garden center, you will see that they have them next to each other. But if it's still cold where you are, make sure that your overnight temperatures are between 50 to 55 degrees Fahrenheit before you start planting your tomatoes outdoors. Now, of course, I have grown basil indoors in my hydroponic system where there is no pest pressure there, but just to show you that even after the growing season is over, that you do have the option to, grow your basil indoors. Moving on to number 2, and that would be thyme, and I absolutely love thyme as well. It's just such a fragrant herb. And these are some flowers. I did allow this one to go to flower because I wanted to see what it was like and just to get benefits from that. So, and of course, when you have these wonderful pollinators in your garden, they go over and they help to pollinate your veggies and your fruits that you have there. It deters the same worm we just spoke about, cabbage worm, as well as the flea beetle. And when you're growing your thyme, it's always good to go in and just, trim it back before it actually flowers, because when you're using it in your food and you want to have the full flavor, it's best to do it before it flowers. As with any other herb out there, it's best to harvest them before they flower, but you can leave a few of them to flower so you can get those pollinators to come in, as well as, the ones that deter those bad pests. It is a good companion for cabbage, potato, eggplant, and strawberries. So bear that in mind when you're planting those crops. So just stick a few here and there among them. And these are some cabbages here that I planted recently. They're making their way up, and of course you're going to be benefiting from these herbs that we're planting among them. Moving on to number 3, and that would be rosemary, another favorite of mine. And quite often this is how they're sold in your garden center. You can see how they're looking there. And I just love the fragrance of rosemary. It is so wonderful. Because of that fragrance, it's so strong, it tends to deter things like rabbits. I love when rabbits come to my backyard or front yard. As long as they have the weeds, which is what these ones do, they don't bother my plants. So I'm perfectly fine with them being here. They're actually like to watch them. This rosemary plant that I have right here, guys, this is about 5 years old and it is still doing so well. We had to repot it. And I do have a cautionary tale to tell you about, just planting herbs in general and planting rosemary a little further in. So you can see how it's looking there. It's about 4 feet across. And this is how it started out here, guys. 3 of them that I did. And this was done in a previous video, and I can link it in the description box. I was going organic, completely organic, all organic herbs in this container. I got my metal container. You can see it was looking a little rusty. It was actually an old wash pan that I had with a hole in the bottom, so I thought I would use it this way, and it was perfect for that. Back here I planted the rosemary towards the back because it does grow taller and bigger, so I figured, okay, this is a great place to put it. Then I got some thyme. This one was a white thyme that I'd never grown before. I'd never even seen it before, but that's the only one they had, and I really wanted something organic, so I said, let me go ahead and try with this one. So I put it off to the side, which was perfectly fine. And, I got some nice organic soil, and everything seemed to have been going well with this decision. But what actually happened is I got a third one to put in the container, and that was mint. And this was my mistake right here. Because what happens is that mint prefers a reasonable amount of water, while thyme and rosemary, they tend to not want as much water. So when I put them in there, they were doing fine initially. Like after 2 weeks, you can see how they were, well, 3 weeks, they were spreading out very nicely and they looked so good. But as time went by, because the needs were different, the only one that really survived was actually the rosemary. After a year, the other two were gone. They had died. And I just love smelling them, guys. When you rub up against them, they smell so good. It's just wonderful. And of course, it has many, very good health benefits. So just to say that when you are planting your herbs together, make sure that you do your research to see, how they manage in terms of how they spread and their watering needs. As far as needing water, mint, basil, cilantro, and parsley, they tend to require more water. So it's best to group them in similar types if you're planting them in the same container. If they're in individual containers, then you're pretty much good to go. Rosemary, lavender, oregano, thyme, those need less water, so those would make better companions. But you can still do your research just to see, because there are a few herbs out there that even though they may have similar watering needs, they don't necessarily make the best companions. So the best option may be, guys, to just plant them in individual containers, so that way they have their needs met. A beautiful thing about rosemary too is that it actually attracts bees, hummingbirds, and butterflies. And I just absolutely love to see them on here. It repels carrot flies, cabbage worms, and Mexican bean beetle. And if you look on here, you can see it. I'm not sure if that's a hoverfly right there. Little tiny, looks like a little bee, but it's really small, going around. And of course, they're pollinating and they're doing what we want them to do, also keeping away those insects that are not beneficial to our plants. Good companions for rosemary would be beans, carrot, and cabbage, because again, they benefit from the insects that it pulls and the ones that it tends to, keep away. And these are some beans that I grew here. Moving on to the next number, and that would be mint. And of course, there are many different types of mint. You have spearmint, you have peppermint, chocolate mint. There are so many different varieties of mint, and they're all wonderful to me. This is some Cullen mint right here. This is more tropical, so do bear that in mind. They deter ants and cabbage moths, and of course they have a wonderful, aroma, which is the same for most of these herbs that we're looking at here today. And weird man is a spreader though, so because mint spreads a lot, you'll want to put it in a container or in areas where you can control the growth, because it's going to spread a lot. This is a Cullen mint right here. Because it's tropical, of course, I harvested it and then I stored it over the winter and brought it back out. Good companions for mint are cabbage, peppers, and tomatoes. And I just wanted to pause for a moment to say that if you have never subscribed to my channel before, I would invite you to do so you can travel along on this journey with me. Garden tours, topics, and tips is what I go over here, and I love the exchange of ideas with fellow gardeners and encouraging new gardeners to keep going. Moving on to number 5, and that would be oregano, another favorite of mine. I guess they're probably all my favorite, guys. So if you allow them to flower, they attract bees and butterflies, which again is wonderful for pollinators, coming in and just pollinating different plants in there. And the things that it repels would be your mosquitoes, aphids, and cabbage worms. So we are happy that it does that for us. The seeds are so tiny, but this plant is a powerhouse, guys. And I grew these indoors as well. So just to say that you have those options as well too. Best companions for mint would be tomatoes, any of the nightshade plants, beans, brassicas, turnips, and strawberries. And brassicas, if you're not sure what that is, would be like your cabbages, your kale, and all the different things that come in that family. They also say that it protects against nematodes. That's still being researched, so it's not confirmed, but let's try it and see what happens. And I did this recent video that talks about flowers as good companions for your veggie garden as well, which we looked at nematodes. I'll link it at the end for you so you can check it out if you wanted to. And this would be marigolds. Marigolds are excellent for controlling nematodes. So if we're still a little too unsure about the mint, we know for sure that the marigold is going to do that. So you always want to incorporate marigold in your vegetable garden wherever you can. Of course, they're beautiful too, but check out that video and you'll get more details about it. Moving on to the next one, that would be cilantro. And boy, do we love cilantro in so many of our dishes. And this is what the seeds look like right here. It deters aphids, spider mites, and slugs, which can be such a pest in the garden sometimes. And this is typically how you'd purchase them at your garden center. And again, this is one of the three herb types that I grew indoors in my hydroponic system. So again, you have options to grow them over the winter. Of course, there's no press pressure indoors typically, but it's good to know that you have those options. Moving on to number 7, that would be garlic. And of course, we have so many different things that we do with garlic. If garlic is allowed to flower, of course, it attracts wonderful pollinators. And they typically recommend that you buy them like that inside the store because the typical ones that you just get in the grocery store, they say those are not the best ones for planting. And these are some that my husband planted out here in a previous season. You can see that they're coming up right here. And they just do absolute wonders for your garden. And as far as the next one goes, that would be parsley. And there are different types of parsley. You have Italian flat leaf parsley, and you also have the curly leaf ones. Again, if allowed to flower, they attract wonderful pollinators to your garden, which we absolutely love. So again, guys, what you can do is just to allow a few of them to go to flower. And it deters the asparagus beetle. So, of course, that is wonderful news to us. Number 9 would be lavender. And, of course, I absolutely love this beautiful plant. It attracts bees, butterflies, and hummingbirds. And just recently, my son touched me when I was in the kitchen. He said, "Mom, look, there's a hummingbird on there." And I saw the hummingbird through the window, and I thought, how wonderful, because we love hummingbirds when they, act as pollinators too. And of course, they're just beautiful to watch. So over here, you can see I have some cullen mint. It just, I trimmed it back, and it's coming up back, and you can see the other plants that are out here, benefiting in containers with it. So what I will want to say is that when you are planting your herbs, of course, you want to make sure that you put them appropriately, sprinkle them out throughout your garden, but just plant them based on what their needs are and how they're going to help your garden. And of course, you do have the option to layer them. So you can put them in a container in your raised bed and it's going to be fine. Now, as far as another way to use them, like these peppers right here, I planted them recently. It was supposed to rain the night, they said, but it didn't. So they were burned the following day when I was away. So when I came back, I had to, take care of it. But I looked and I saw the leaves were missing. I don't know if the pill bugs got to it, because pill bugs do eat leaves sometimes, and they were low lying. So what I did was I put the rosemary around, just around it on the soil to keep them away. So that is another way that you can go in and use your herbs if you don't want to necessarily plant them in that area. If you have an immediate situation, you can just rest it around it so they can keep those things away from your garden. And here's your bonus tip, guys. The herbs that have smaller leaves, they may be a little bit fuzzy, or they may have woody tissue, are the ones that tend to be needing less water, and the ones that are, more softer and, just feel a little juicier and have flat leaves. Those are the ones that tend to need more water. So you can bear that in mind when you're making your choices. And now bear in mind, guys, that when, predators come in and they eat the leaves of your plant releases certain types of hormones. Some of it is beneficial, some of it is detrimental, because sometimes it attracts in predators to that insect that take them out. But in some cases, it also signals others to come in, and the plant can just get overwhelmed and it will die. So sometimes it works in favor of the plant when it releases those hormones. Sometimes it does not. So the best thing to do is to keep your plants healthy and happy, so that way you don't have anything coming in and damaging them. When they damage them, it can really lead to the destruction of your plant. So bear those things in mind as you, plant your herbs in. Plant as many as you can, but just follow, the little growing habits that they have to see the best places to put them. Remember, bear the heights in mind, how tall they grow. So that will determine, you put it in the middle of the garden, you put it towards the edge. All those things are things you want to consider. So I do want to thank you so much for watching. I so appreciate when you stop by my channel each time. I appreciate your support, whether by membership or viewing and sharing my videos, or going to the store, to purchase merchandise there. So I want to wish you a happy growing season, happy spring, happy summer, and I do hope to see you in the next video. Take care.